She was sitting there in the dark, strumming on that old guitar, watching her tiny baby sleep. In her faded calico dress, one wrinkle shy of being pressed, and wondering how she'd ever make ends meet. How to tell that baby girl that this was her world, where Daddy's leave and Mama's live in fear, all she'd counted on, had long been gone. She wished she could just disappear. Sitting at that kitchen table, been so long since she'd been able to remember the words that Mama used to sing about clouds that roll back like a scroll, and someone Mama called her king. She remembered being a child, holding Daddy's hand as they were walking in the sand, and she looked down, and much to her delight, she got her wish, her very own starfish. And oh, she held on to it so tight. But Daddy said as he shook his head, "You know that starfish there's no good. It's broken, cracked. You better throw it back. If I were you, I would." And that turned out to be her destiny. The pretty starfish cracked. Oh, happy times she'd sometimes find, but they'd always throw her back. Seems quite clear this moment here is not where the story should begin, so what I'll do's back up a week or two, and I'll start it over again. So come follow me past Critter's Creek to this tiny town of which I speak, about a mile and a hair past anywhere you've been. Follow the smell of apple pie and the sound of cicadas rising high, and go slow if that there fog is coming in. To the other side of the water tower where Billy Ray Bob climbed late one hour, and he sprayed in red, "Will you marry me, Heather?" Where people still remember when, how it used to be and could have been, and a beauty pageant queen's fame will last forever. Where heroes come in every size, success depends on the pair of eyes, and laughter, how it heals the wounded soul. Where it's still okay to say you pray, and where you want to end up someday, and all is made right with a casserole. It's a town steeped in tradition, love of country, fear of perdition, where change can be a little hard to swallow. But go, and you're not the same. One visit, and your heart's been changed. So come on in, 'cause you're a friend in Pride's Hollow. It all started when Edna and her husband Harry felt the call to go be missionaries, share the love of Jesus somewhere near the shore. But when they set to packing, well, they found their funds severely lacking and started calling on favor from the Lord. Well, it wasn't a minute, and then the ladies down the street caught wind. News traveled so fast it set your head to spinning. Because you know it stands, of course, that here on earth, well, there ain't no greater force than gossip run through a chain of concerned women. Why, it wasn't but an hour when the news had gained such power to be a prayer chain that stretched 3 counties wide. Oh, people, they were finally free from praying for another bunion surgery and Eulalie's poodle Gert, who almost died. And it wasn't too much longer then Mr. Herman Potts himself caught wind and decided, well, that he should play a part. And so at the next deacon's meeting, where he held a most high seatin', he felt led to share what was on his heart. And that's how this issue come to be the highest of priority to the place Mr. Herman Potts himself had come to love. Being a most valued member, January through December, why, he even had his name engraved on the side of the Holy Redeemer, House of the Esteemed Believer. Come on down and give your 10%. We're Southern fried to glorified. Come here, we'll keep you sanctified while we got just the cure for your discontent. We're the one with the largest steeple, always looking for more people. Why, come on in, to thine own self be true. We've living water from the well. Come here, we'll keep you out of hell, and pray for whatever's ailing you. Just come on in, we'll wash your feet, but just don't sit in Mildred's seat. We're running high on love and on complaints. So come share your trials and tribulations at the 37th generation Buncombe Avenue Church of the Living Saints. And so this issue became pressing. This matter needed their addressing. How to create the old, win-win. How to raise the funds they need, maybe plant a few gospel seeds, and of course bring a couple new families in. Well, it was Ernestine who first heard him talking, said, "Quit your squibbling and squawking. You want to bring 'em in from far and near." She said, "The problem ain't as hard as this. No able-bodied person can resist a yard sale. Well, you could even hold it here. And that's why, without much warning, come to find next Saturday morning, that churchyard filled up from end to end. If you've ever wondered whether one man's junk's another's treasure, well, they proved that to be true once again. Now, it was Nadine who first called it rude that you'd have a yard sale with no food, and announced that it would be her greatest wish that she'd be the one to organize what was sure to be of epic size, the county's largest ever first multi-denominational covered dish. Now, I don't know if you ever tried to keep Methodists and Episcopals unified on matters of that covered dish persuasion, but there's no greater honor you're going to find than a woman's spot on the buffet line while you're just asking for a volatile situation. Because they weren't even 2 minutes in when the button of the hairsprayed head set in, and, well, there seemed to be an altercation. When Mary Beth accused Norma Jean of putting low-fat soup in her green beans, a sin in her mind one step short of that there fornication. To which Norma Jean replied, "Well, Mary, you may be from the Church of Saints, but I do believe a saint you ain't, and I question the authenticity of some of your parts." To which Mary then sweetly replied, "Well, honey, at least my hair ain't cheaply dyed. And have you put on weight, dear? Bless your heart." Things, they took a nasty turn when Edna said she dropped her husband's urn as she'd been keeping in that kitchen way up high. Said she got most of him up, 'cept about a cup, and now these muffins might be a tad bit dry. Vernetta said, "Honey, that's okay. I lost a fingernail in my souffle," and Mildred whispered something I can't repeat. And then the food, it started flying, women punching, screaming, crying, and that's how Esther, bless her heart, lost her 2 front teeth. Meanwhile, the churchyard had filled up with people, wanting to buy it all, including the steeple. Suddenly, everything had a price. Buster sold his rocking chair and that self-portrait done when he had hair, and bought himself a brand-new blinking Budweiser light. Big Miss Barry and Little Miss Barry, they were 2 sisters who never married, one as large as the other one was small, brought their entire collection of poetry written about every election, and I'll be if they didn't sell 'em all. Daisy was there to share the faith, which she could do much better in a 6-inch waist, which is how her new girdle fit her plan. But around hour 2, that girdle fell through. Woman started busting out like biscuits from a can. Chaos and convulsions overtook her. She started spewing like a pressure cooker, scared folks so hard they thought it was the end. Made some of 'em start to pray. Lord sure works in mysterious ways, 'cause that day 2 more souls came a-rolling in. Meanwhile, somewhere in all this mess, a woman in a faded calico dress slipped in, without causing much attention, except to Mary Clare, who saw her standing there and felt so called to mention, "To dear Betty Sue, did you see who just had the nerve to show her face? Who let her in? Better watch your men. Well, I believe she's a pure T disgrace. Now, don't call me wrong, but she don't belong. Her kind of sin is self-induced. Mark my words, that child of hers be her sin come home to roost." And the woman, pale and oh so frail, stood burning under their eyes. She knew it was dumb for her to come and just let them feed their lies. And then a child, about 7, I guess, walked up to the woman in the calico dress and said, "Here, I made this just for you." She said, "It's something I made at camp today out of macaroni and glitter glue." But she said, then it broke in half and all the kids laughed and said, "Now 'twarn't worth a thing. But my teacher says it's only when we're broke that we get whole again. And all of us matters to our king." The woman in that faded calico dress clutched that gift against her chest and wondered, could it be true? Could this be a sign that for the very first time someone, this so-called king, might love her too? Meanwhile, the ladies of Holy Harmony sang till halfway through when somebody claimed they sounded like a cat choking on a hairball. Buster and his lovely mate, they were engaged in a hot debate over a poker hat with 2 beer holders and a straw. She said, "Buster, our home just ain't no place for an object of such disgrace." She said, "I think you love this hat more than me." Buster would have lied, but he looked around, saw he was standing on that there holy ground, and now Buster wears that hat to couples therapy. Bitsy was selling dancing lessons, pay $10 for 10 sessions, worth she said to be at least 1,000. And then, bless her heart, that woman started to clog. And then she scared old man Buford's hog, who wasn't there for sale, mind you. He was just browsing. And then that hog tore through the crowd, left and right, and squealing loud, and ran into old man Horace and his wife. Horace lost his hearing aid, said that's when he started loving his wife again, and said now, well, he owes that pig for life. Some would say the yard sale that day was a complete and utter success, and others a blunder, making them wonder just who or what it really blessed. But meanwhile, later that night, she was sitting there in the dark, strumming on that old guitar, watching her tiny baby sleep in her faded calico dress, one wrinkle shy of being pressed, and wondering how she'd ever make ends meet, staring at that gift from a child's hand. And she remembered walking with Daddy in the sand, and that child's words, "Here, I made this just for you." How it glittered bright in the candlelight. A starfish made of macaroni and glitter glue. All she'd counted on had long been gone. Her life was broken clear in two. But could it be so? The one this child knows might somehow love her too. What she could not see is when we're down on our knees and we have nothing left to give. We are at the perfect place to receive His shining grace. For it's only when He fills us that we live. And she got down on tired knees and whispered, "Lord, forgive me, please." And He made her whole. That pretty starfish cracked. Homeward bound, she'd finally found the one who'd never throw her back. And the words, they rolled over her soul, the words Mama used to sing, and like a warm, soft coat, they held her close as she sang to her new king. When peace like a river attendeth my way, when sorrows like sea billows roll, whatever thy lot, thou hast taught me to say, it is well with my soul. Often I am shown that his ways are not my own. And sometimes the greatest testimony is small and is mild, crafted by a child out of nothing more than glitter glue and macaroni. And to him be the glory. Amen.